Ascension Healing Fellowship, and we are so super excited that you're here and super excited that you're part of this fellowship and this time together. So today we've got, as always, some really exciting nuggets for you and some really exciting and hopefully soulful growth for you. As you can read the signs that I have posted behind me, I always have my signs up in my office and I switch them around from time to time to see them differently. Everything from believe in it until it becomes my reality, and other like just nuggets that I've got. And I strongly encourage you to post nuggets around like that. It's kind of cool, especially when you start to switch the nuggets around, because as you switch the nuggets around, you see them in a different way, and it makes you think about them, and it makes you kind of chew on them. So, with that in mind, just a suggestion. So remember, last service we talked about what is crazy rest, and we talked about crazy rest as being this resting, this idea of resting. Remember, faith is simply resting, right? And so we talked about the idea that crazy rest, crazy faith is just that which means that we are complete and it's all good and all is well. And while last week we talked about what it is and we talked about the mystic and the role of the mystic, this week we're going to dive into who is included in crazy rest. And I think, in fact, I know that this will bless you in a huge, huge way. So we're going to start, as we always do, with some quiet moments, some silence, and some meditation. So today as we meditate, my hope is that we can get grounded in this crazy rest. My hope is that we can be part of and see ourselves in this wonderful and beautiful idea that rest, crazy rest, is for each and every one of us, no matter where we're from, who we are, or where we may be at any given moment in our journey. So, we're talking about crazy rest for all. And that's my hope, is that we get grounded in that. So, we're going to breathe in, let me rest, and breathe out in perfect love alone. Breathe in, let me rest. Breathe out in perfect love alone. As you continue in this meditation, I want you to get a vision. I want you to get this vision of these massive, beautiful arms just embracing you. And this divine one, this one that is perfect love beyond human comprehension, just embraces your whole being, your very soul, the very fiber of your being. It embraces and just says, "You are my beautiful child, and I am so proud of you, and I am so proud of you. I love you, and that love will never go away. It will never fade. It will never change." Get that mental picture here as you do this meditation. So let's review from last week just a little bit as we begin to come into the message today. I want us to review and kind of think about what we covered and what we talked about. So remember, a mystic is a being that lives in the mystery and is totally okay with that mystery. The mystery of believing perfect love for all and that perfect love is in all. A mystic, a healthy, healing mystic, is a mystic, okay, that believes that perfect love is for all and in all moments, in all beings, in all situations, in all that happens. This perfect love is embracing my soul, because that's where the idea comes from that all is well. And if I leave this planet with anything at all, I hope that I leave this planet leaving this message. All is well, as all is in perfect love. So Samuel, that we talked about last week, was a mystic, and he was a mystic who was also a kingmaker. He made King David. Saul was a mystic, the mystic and kingmaker, because he was a prophet. He was the one who named the king, and they followed whatever he said, and so he made the king David. Now, why is that important, and why so much emphasis on David? Because Jesus comes from the house of David, and we're going to talk about the importance of that here in just a moment and why that matters. But he was the kingmaker who would create the house from which Jesus would come. That was the house of David. And I want you to kind of think on that whole idea of the house of David as we go through this. Because when we look at the life of David, and we're going to look at it over the next few weeks, over the next few Sundays, but as we look at the life of David, we're going to see someone who went from fear to faith, from fear to rest, from fear to faith, fear to rest, again and again and again and again. And he failed. He made huge mistakes. He had people killed. He took their wives. He just, all of this stuff. And why all of this stuff really matters in the year 2025 to you and to me and to all. So 1 Samuel 16:11 says this. Now remember, I want to paint this picture for you. Let me paint this picture before we dive into this scripture. Last week, we talked about the divine, Yahweh, sees the heart, right? Sees the heart. Doesn't look on the outside, doesn't look on the exterior appearance, doesn't look and say, oh my gosh, you've been traumatized. Oh my gosh, you're dirty, you're this, you're that, you're the other thing, you're a Samaritan. None of that plays into the part of Yahweh and the rest in perfect love. None of it. Not a bit. Not a single bit. So, in 1 Samuel 16:11, Samuel being told by Yahweh, you are going to go and you're going to find the king of Israel. The king for Israel is going to come from Jesse of the Bethlehemite. In other words, Jesse of Bethlehem. And the reason this is important is because Jesus was from Bethlehem, and that was a prophecy, right? Jesus was born from the house of David. So, 1 Samuel 16:11. Then Samuel said to Jesse, are all your sons here? Are all your sons here? Samuel had just looked at all the sons of Jesse that were there, and each time he saw one, and he saw some really outstanding guys, strong, big, good, powerful leaders. And every time he saw one, Yahweh said, this isn't the one. This is not it. And so Samuel's like sitting there going, come on, are you kidding me? This isn't the one. This isn't the way to the rest that I have for the rest of eternity. So I want you to sit with that for a minute. So then Samuel said to Jesse, are all your sons here? And he said, there remains yet the youngest, but behold, he's out taking care of the sheep. He's really not that important. He's the youngest. He's this little kid. Come on. He's out there taking care of the sheep. Remember, we mentioned before that the shepherds who were invited to the birth of Christ were kind of those on the fringes of society. They smelled bad. They lived outside the city gates. They lived by themselves, had very little contact with civilized society, and were not really seen as that good a people. They just weren't seen that way. But those are the ones that Christ came to say, I'm here for you. I'm here to set the prisoner free. I'm here to create healing for all, because all have a seat at the table at the wedding feast. So Jesse, David's father, said, well, there's this youngest one and he's out tending the sheep. He's really not that important. And here's what Samuel the mystic said. And Samuel said to Jesse, send for him, for we will not sit down, we will not rest till he comes here. Are you beginning to get the connection here? Are you beginning to get how indwelling this is to the message of perfect love? Samuel the mystic, who was there to anoint the king of Israel, tells Jesse, the king's father, earthly father, we don't rest until the least of these comes here. Jesus will not rest until the least of these, until those who've been tormented by trauma, until those who've been hurt by rape and by all manners of evil, until all of those have been invited to the table, there will be no rest. There will be no rest. Rest in perfect love comes when all are at the table. There is so much to dive into here. I mean, this is like one verse, right? One verse, one story. And we're going to see in other stories through the next weeks and months the same kind of theme. All are invited. All are invited to just rest in perfect love alone. Rest in perfect love alone. Remember from the last time we talked about Yahweh sees the heart. Yahweh sees the heart. David did some really bad things, as we were just mentioning. But Yahweh saw his heart. And David's heart, his heart, was always on moving toward the rest. In my personal experience, and I believe in the experience of most, we don't get to that rest by any easy path. Trauma, challenge, difficulty, betrayal, there's just no way around it. That's how you get to the rest. That's why the least of these are the first. So let's take a look at this. Let's dive in deeper. David was the outcast who became the king. The outcast who became the king. Did you know, no matter how outcast you feel, you're a king with God? You're a king with the divine. You're a king with perfect love. Perfect love is eternally embracing your soul, saying, I love you, my child, and I will never leave you or forsake you. Never. You can rest in this. You can rest in this. Please rest in my perfect love. This is why perfect love casts out all fear. All fear is gone. He wasn't considered worthy to even be introduced as possible king. He wasn't even considered worthy to be introduced to the mystic. Think on that. He wasn't considered worthy to be introduced to the guest of the house. Sometimes you don't feel worthy. The divine says you are worthy. You have divine DNA within you, and that will never change. Never change. For you are divine. David was the youngest, and so he was given the lesser duties. He was given the lesser duties. He was told, just go take care of the sheep. Well, we really don't want you around. You're the youngest. Come on, just go take care of the sheep. It's all good. You sometimes feel like you're kind of like on the bad end of the stick. Sometimes you feel like, oh, well, I'm not really important. I'm not really valuable. But Yahweh saw the heart, and David never lost heart in the idea that perfect love was with him. Never lost heart in that. Never lost faith in that. Again, shepherds were the outcast. Why this matters today? Why does this matter today? I'll tell you. Because the outcast are the in-group with the divine. The outcast, the least of these, have always been the in-group. All of us were the youngest. All of us were the outcast. All of us were ingrafted. Ingrafted. There's this beautiful story that Jesus tells about the ingrafting. You were ingrafted. In other words, you were like this exterior limb, and you were stitched into the trunk of the divine. And because of that, you're part of this beautiful tree that is the tree of life. The tree of life that encompasses all. Isn't that a beautiful thought? Doesn't that give you rest? You're part of that tree. There's nothing that can separate you from that tree. What 1 Samuel 16:11 teaches is that even the ones that humans think are outside are included. Everyone's at the table. Everyone is ingrafted. There's no one left out. Not a single one. This is crazy rest because all is well. All were the youngest. All were the outcast. All were ingrafted. So all is well. Again, let me say that. Let me say that loud and clear. All were the youngest. All were the outcast. All were the shepherds. All were ingrafted. So all is well. Do you see the power in that? Do you see the beauty in that? Why does this matter? Even those that are deemed least likely are included. The traumatized. The group that we work with the most at Ascension Healing Fellowship, those who have been traumatized, those who just struggle with life itself, for those who the very air that you breathe feels like acid on your skin, for those people. That's why Ascension Healing Fellowship exists. And we'll talk more about that in weeks to come. The unworthy. And at one time or another, we all feel unworthy, except for those whose ego is probably going to cause them to struggle their entire life. If you haven't been blessed by feeling unworthy, then you probably won't recognize this. The lowest. Why does this matter? Even those that are deemed the lowest, the least, are the first. That's the kingdom. That was the message that the Pharisees and the Sadducees just couldn't take. So they had to crucify Jesus to shut him up. That's what they had to do. And yet, all were the youngest, all were the least, all were the outcast, and all is well. Crazy rest? Hell yes. Crazy rest? Hell yes. You are never so far away that the divine arms of perfect love are not embracing your soul. Let me say that again. You are never so far away that the divine arms of perfect love are not embracing your soul. They are always embracing your soul. That's never going to change. Never. Never. No rest till all are present, especially the outcast. There is no rest until we bring all in. Until then, we're going out and we're sharing the good news that everybody is included in this. All are included in this. Everybody. The divine will always send for all. The wedding feast. I keep going back to the wedding feast because the wedding feast was this beautiful moment where Jesus said, oh, those people who think they're worthy, they don't want to come to my feast? Go out and get the lame. Go out and get the traumatized. Go out and get the unworthy. Get the beggars. Get the people who are the least likely and the least wanted by society. Get the people who have the diseases. Get the people who have been thrown out, the outcasts. Get the people who they make the shepherds and invite them to come to the feast because they are embraced too. They are embraced too. I hope this blessed you. I hope you'll think on this today. I hope that as we go through more crazy rest, that you'll see yourself in that if you haven't already. Keep coming back to Ascension Healing Fellowship because at Ascension Healing Fellowship, we believe all are embraced by the perfect love of the divine, and that's never going to change. Love you all. We'll chat real soon.